What's this in our hands, I see? The brand new Fuji XT4. Oh, Deon, look what we've got.
Hey guys, welcome back to OrmsTV. Today we have the brand new Fuji X-T4 for you right here, and we're going to do a full review on this. We had very limited time with it, but we decided to take it out, do some shots, capture some video, tell you guys what it's all about. So let's dive into the specs first.
Yeah, so first up, megapixels. We're shooting on a 26 megapixels. You're shooting at 20 frames per second electronically, 15 in a mechanical, and then also 425 autofocus points. Now these specs do kind of sound familiar, right?
Yeah, very similar to what we had in the X-T3.
Yeah.
And very much like the X-T3, when it comes to your video shooting, you're shooting 4K at a maximum of 60 frames per second. You've got 8-bit and 10-bit recording in there. You can also output 422 clean over the HDMI port. All very similar to what we had in the X-T3, really.
Yeah, so let's dive into maybe some of the changes.
Yeah. Check what's different.
Okay. Last time it was a chopper.
There is a brand new battery in this unit now.
Yes.
So Fuji's replaced their long-standing battery that they've used in pretty much everything over the years, and the new one literally doubles up on the amount of frames that you're supposed to capture. So it's now SEPA rated up to 500 shots.
Great.
Which is pretty decent, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's not
especially
bad.
if you travel or if you're a wildlife and you're clicking away, it'll be quite a nice help.
Absolutely. It is a bit of a downside though. If you have accumulated a whole bunch of the previous gen batteries, unfortunately, you're going to have to start over.
It's time for a change, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things.
All right,
Okay.
ready? You're rolling.
Okay.
Can't see. Probably the biggest thing on the XT4, and they'll push this quite a lot, is the IBIS.
Yeah. So the IBIS on there is quite massive. So it runs you up to 6.5 stops of stabilization on 18 of their current generation of lenses.
So not on all of the lenses. It's rated for 6.5, as you said.
Yeah. And all the other lenses, you get a total of 5 stops stabilization out of it, which is pretty decent. That's not bad. It's not the best out there, but it's really good. And as a sort of first entry in the true XT range, I think that's pretty decent, yeah.
Other nice feature is the final flippy screen coming to the Fujis.
Oh, love it.
So great for the YouTubers, the vloggers, content creators, and even for photographers. I mean,
Absolutely.
when we were shooting now, I was using the flippy quite a lot.
Same here. I mean, there was a couple of shots where I immediately flipped it out, and it's very natural.
Yes.
You've become so used to using a flip out screen. It really is just a great little addition to any camera, and I like it. It's nice and bright, the quality is good, the touch functionality works well. Yeah, all around, no complaints there at all.
So seeing that we are touching on the screen, let's maybe go into some ergonomics.
Yeah, absolutely.
So biggest thing for me is they've removed the headphone jack.
Yes, so the headphone jack is gone, and you can now use it through a little USB-C adapter that you might or might not get with the camera. We can't confirm that at this stage, but it would be nice for them to include it. Otherwise, there is a headphone jack on the battery grip should you go for that. But yeah, that's been removed. For me, a big thing in terms of ergonomics is the new grip. It's a lot deeper.
It's a lot chunkier as well.
Oh, you're talking about the battery grip.
Oh, you're talking about
I was just talking about the actual grip.
Sorry.
So for me personally, the biggest change is definitely the depth of the grip. They've really beefed it up quite substantially over the X-T3. And that's kind of the only real change in size. Like, I was expecting the actual camera to be thicker and to be heavier.
Because of the IBIS, right?
Yeah.
You would think it's a bit chunkier.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but it's not really. If you look at them side by side, like, the differences are really small.
Yes.
I like the bigger grip. I like how it feels in the hand. Okay, admittedly, this one has the battery grip fitted to it.
Probably also because of the bigger battery. Now, the new battery is a little bit thicker and a little bit chunkier.
True.
So even if you look at the battery grip as well, it's definitely quite a fatter piece at the bottom.
Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger than what it was on the X-T3, but I don't mind it because it sits well in the hand.
It still feels like a Fuji.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I was very scared, and I think we mentioned it in our anticipated gear video of the year, that I was very scared that when they do go for the X-T4, that they'd include a lot more of the look and feel of the XH1.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the design.
No, not at all, but I'm so glad that when they stepped here, they kept that really cool retro design, kept everything that we love from the Fuji.
Something also quite great is that they've moved away the light metering mode button. It's now a dedicated stills and video mode.
Yeah, that's very handy. I mean, having a switch for light metering, much of a muchness. I mean, you know, you set it once and that's pretty much it. It's not something that you change on the fly.
You can obviously customize it to one of the cursor buttons if you need to, but
Correct.
I think the photo and still mode is a more important button to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing that they did was they changed the position of that function button. So by default, that is currently set to switch between face detect autofocus and the standard point autofocus. And I quite like that. I quite like being able to have it right there and just switch it on the fly. That's pretty nice for me, really.
Other big change is going to be a new film simulation mode. So we've been playing with that as well, shooting a little bit, and shooting in these high contrast scenes. It came out quite very nice.
Yeah, I quite liked it. So it's called Eterna Bleach Bypass. So it's quite a flat profile, but it has a very high contrast, which can look kind of cool. Not suited for every situation, but looks
Definitely
really good. Yeah, I quite like it.
For the grams, yo. For the likes. Okay, another...
What? Sorry,
Okay.
I couldn't remember where we were.
Yeah, they need a camera. Okay, another great improvement on the X-T4 is shutter cycles. They've bumped it up to 300,000. The X-T3 was only 150, so perfect for a professional that needs a durable camera that's going to last them an X amount of years. Great thing that Fuji has done on that.
Sticking with the improvements, for me a really nice one is what they did with the full HD video. So you've now got a mode where you're shooting 240 frames per second. That's very cool, and we'll show you guys what that looks like. The little bit of a downside is that it outputs it in a 10 times slow-mo format, so you don't really have full control over what you do with that amount of frames. So very much like a little special effects you know, thing that you can do internally in the camera, but still a nice to have, and it looks really good actually.
And I also would mention, we unfortunately could not find any birds in flight.
So another thing that's really important is what they did with the tracking autofocus. So firstly, they bumped up the frame rate that you can shoot with the mechanical shutter to 15 frames a second, which is really great. But to also do that with tracking autofocus throughout is really nice, and we'll show you the results. It actually looks quite good. It locks on, it stays intact, and that's quite nice for Fuji to pull that off.
Yeah, we were shooting me running and shooting on face detection, if that's correct, right?
That is absolutely correct.
And it was locked on.
Yeah, it grabs, it locks on, it runs throughout. It's really nice. So what Fuji did was they're using the same autofocus system that we found in the X-Pro 3. So the exact same face tracking algorithms and all of that. But in addition, it now also looks at color and contrast, not just distance and shapes, to pick up what's happening in the frame. And it's really great to see that kind of tech making it into the XT series. I like it, and it works really well.
Other thing is the IBIS, as we mentioned. So obviously IBIS is going to be helpful for photography and video. But next up, we'll show you a nice comparison of the X-T3 side by side with the X-T4. Obviously X-T3 has no stabilization in the body, while the X-T4 has got the IBIS built in. So
what I will say about that is, like, the IBIS actually works really well. This camera is still very much pre-production, so sometimes when we use it, the IBIS looks a little bit wonky, that we found over the last couple of days. But in the footage, it looks solid, and I'm quite happy with it, and I'm sure they'll keep improving it.
And while the clients will buy one off the shelf, it will have the final firmware installed with all the kinks and bits fixed.
Yeah, and again, something that Fuji is very good at is bringing out firmware updates throughout. So I'm sure that anything that isn't 100% on these cameras, they'll fix it as they go forward. I mean, some of their models have like hundreds of changes in the firmware, and that's one of the things that I really like about Fujifilm.
They keep improving it down the line.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the things we don't like so much about this camera. Yeah, so
I think probably one of the biggest issues is no separate charger included in the box.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
So that means you charge via
the USB-C cable, battery inside the camera. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I didn't like it when Sony started to do it, and I don't like it right here. I prefer getting a separate charger.
Hopefully it's not a trend that other companies will get into. I also prefer the separate charger.
Absolutely.
So yeah, now if you need one, you'll have to probably purchase one.
Yeah, I mean, just you're selling a pro camera, you have to assume that people are going to invest in multiple batteries.
Yes.
And I want to be able to shoot while one's on charge, you know, and not have to literally have my camera out of action.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of that at all. You want to just roll it and see how it falls?
Yeah.
So in conclusion, what do we think of the Fuji X-T4?
So, in all honest opinion, it's a great camera. They've added a lot of things that people wanted, which is obviously IBIS. A lot of people were asking for it.
Yep.
But just in my personal opinion, I was expecting maybe a little bit more in terms of the specs of the camera, in terms of the resolution, photo resolution. But otherwise than that, it's still a good camera.
My opinion is pretty much exactly the same. I was maybe expecting a little bit more, but I should also say that we are true Fuji fanboys, and we kind of hold Fuji maybe to a higher standard than what we really should. We really love what they do. This unit, as it stands here, is probably one of the best APS-C cameras that you can possibly buy.
Hands down, hands down.
It is 100% amazing, and I love the little tweaks that they put in. I love the ergonomic tweaks that's there, how the grip feels and the button placements and all of that. I really, really enjoy it. I enjoyed shooting with the IBIS. I enjoyed what the video is capable of now. I love the new profile. It's really a solid camera, and I struggle to fault it when I really look at it objectively. It's only when that little bit of Fuji fanboyism of mine creeps in that I go, come on, do a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's really, really a good camera, no two ways around it. And I would say that if you're somebody looking to upgrade,
Maybe from an XT1 or 2 or
Absolutely.
XT30.
yeah, XT30s, anything like that, upgrading to an XT4 would absolutely blow your mind.
Yeah.
It's a spectacular camera, no two ways around it. Okay, Andre, roll for that outro, buddy. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us for that quick review of the Fuji X-T4. Unfortunately, it has to go back to Fujifilm South Africa now. Had a very limited time with it, but we enjoyed it. We hope you guys did as well.
Yeah, and consider subscribing and also share your thoughts on what you think of the changes of the X-T4. We do always respond to your comments.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys. So for now, cheers.